Are you guys feeling the fear yet? The S&P this month so far is down over 6% and dropping fast. The 10-year is quickly approaching a 5% yield. It's beginning to sink in that rates are going to be higher for longer. And the House of Representatives just booted Kevin McCarthy, the speaker, from his job. Those are some of the reasons why the current Fear and Greed Index is sitting at 17. And my portfolio is in the negatives, down 2.5%. Just in the past 1 month, we are down nearly 5%. But you guys know me, I am fully taking advantage of the situation and increasing my rate of deposits. On September 15th, I deposited $200. Every Monday, I have $150. On September 21st, I did an additional $500 deposit. And then just today, an additional $500, which went into mostly Divo. I am firmly in the asset accumulation phase of my life. So whenever the price of these assets decreases, I try my best to take full advantage of that. And to help me take advantage of dips and turbulence in the market, you have to be fully confident in what you're buying. And that's why today I want to show you guys my general screening and research process for my various ETFs and potential investments. And at the end of the video, I do want to share with you guys my early idea for my own research and portfolio backtesting website, so stay tuned to the end. Okay, so my research process usually begins when I come across a new ETF that I want to find out more about. This could be via a YouTube video, Reddit, Seeking Alpha articles, or really 1,000 other sources. And as of right now, I have 4 main websites that all do slightly different things to help me get the full picture of an ETF and how it fits or potentially would fit into my portfolio. The first website is ETFcom. The reason I began my research with ETFcom is for this piece of data right here. This is the fund description, and this tells you exactly how the index or the ETF operates. So for SCHD, it tells us that this ETF only has firms with a 10-year history of paying dividends. Within that universe, they screen for cash flow to debt ratio, return on equity, dividend yield, and dividend growth rate. That right there is what this ETF is. So this insight is absolutely critical, and it's the first thing I look at. ETF.com also does a good job showing you all of the holdings, not just the top 10. So this is a great time to take a look at this information. So once I have the ETF insight and the holdings, phase 2 is Seeking Alpha. I like the dividend data on Seeking Alpha. So here we can see SCHD, the current yield is 3.7%, the growth rate is 13%, and it pays you on a quarterly basis. Then I come over to the charting tab. And here's where I spend the most time. The charting tool here is pretty useful because you can select the metrics. The first thing I do is erase price action, and I select total return. Once you do that, you can then select multiple symbols to benchmark and compare this to. So for something like SCHD, I usually have the S&P 500 as the benchmark, and then some other comparable dividend funds like VYM. So we can see side by side the total returns of all these funds at various different time frames. And specifically, what I'm looking for here isn't just a line that goes up and to the right the most, because depending on the time frame, that changes. Instead, what I'm looking for is the long-term behavior of the fund. And this right here is an extreme example to hopefully better illustrate what I mean. So this is a 5-year stock chart, and technically stock A is the top performing equity. But when you take a deeper look into the past history, A is extremely volatile and unpredictable, and for a while it was one of the worst performing funds. So due to that, I would say out of these names, B is actually the higher quality choice, even though it doesn't have the absolute top performance. But then the other aspect you have to consider is how this would complement existing holdings. So when you put SCHD against the general market, overall the performance is similar, but we can identify periods of time, different market conditions, where they behave differently. And that difference is extra resilience during tough market cycles. So if my portfolio consisted of funds like Divo and the S&P 500, which are already very conservative, relatively low growth, then SCHD wouldn't really be that appealing because it doesn't bring anything new to the table. But on the other hand, if I had a more aggressive ETF with names like VGT, QQQ, then SCHD would be more impactful and potentially complement these funds very well, augmenting them in different market conditions. But to see if this is true, my final website here is Portfolio Backtester. I use this tool to integrate the new ETF into my portfolio and see what the performance would have been like. So let's stick with the previous example of a more conservative portfolio, represented by DIVO, VOO, and then the more aggressive one, QQQ and VGT. And let's go ahead and integrate SCHD into the more conservative portfolio first. So portfolio 2 is the old one, DIVO, VOO, and portfolio 3 is the new configuration. And we can see how it impacts the line. And we can see here that SCHD really doesn't add that much, even in terms of the portfolio income, that's right here. And again, not that much of a difference. And now let's go ahead and integrate SCHD into the more aggressive portfolio. And here we can see the impact in yellow of adding SCHD to the more aggressive portfolio in blue. Clearly, it slows down the growth during bull markets, but it also made the following pullback significantly less painful. And taking a look at the portfolio income, again, it's blue, the original, versus yellow with the SCHD integration. The addition of SCHD does have a huge impact on this metric. So at a glance, that is my general research process. I begin with ETFcom. I read the fund description, I look at the full list of holdings, then I come over to Seeking Alpha, I take a look at the dividend data, and I compare and benchmark this ETF against many other names. The final step is to virtually integrate and backtest a portfolio setup using this new ETF. As you can tell, the process using 3 different websites is a little bit cumbersome, but to me it's absolutely vital to get the full picture. And that's where the idea for possibly creating my own research website came from. Please let me know in the comments below if this sounds good to you, but to give you a quick little overview of what I'm thinking, the website would have 3 core abilities. First would be digital portfolios where you can backtest different ideas, a full ETF research tool, and a watch list where you can keep track of various names you're interested in. The ETF research tool in particular would give you the following information: the full fund description, letting you know exactly what the ETF is all about, how it functions, a full list of the fund holdings, followed by the comparison chart. Much like on Seeking Alpha, you can compare this against other similar ETFs. And I want to make a quick toggle switch for price and total return, so you can easily flip between both and see the impact of the dividend. And then below that we have the hard data: expense ratio, yield, assets under management, sector allocation, dividend, and so on. So if you like what you see, you can add it to your watch list, and that will be put over here. And then the final major component is the virtual portfolio backtester. So at this point, you have some names in your watch list, and you can easily add them to various mock portfolios and set the allocation. Once you do that, you have the chart showing you the historical data of the combined portfolio side by side against the other mock portfolios. Again, we can have that toggle for price, total return, and then the portfolio facts down here, including the combined yield, expense ratio, and so on. So you can see how this combines a lot of the features that I currently use 3 separate websites to accomplish. And let me know, are you guys in a similar situation? And what other features, if any, would you like to see added? Let me know in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.